What if the next 90 days could determine how your entire year turns out? What if getting beginning right made everything else easier? Welcome to Growth Listen. Today, we explore the 90-day rule, how the first 3 months decide your entire year. This audiobook reveals how to lock in momentum early and make success feel inevitable instead of something you're always chasing. The idea is simple but powerful. The first 3 months shape your habits, your confidence, and your direction. When you use this time with intention, progress compounds. When you waste it, recovery becomes harder. This book shows you how to focus on what matters most, build discipline early, and create systems that carry you forward long after motivation fades. If you've ever started strong and lost momentum, or wanted a clear plan to stay consistent and focused, this audiobook is for you. Chapter 1. Accept this truth. Your year is decided early. Listen carefully. This chapter is not motivational. It is not inspirational. It is factual. Whether you like it or not, your year is decided early. Not in December. Not at the end. Not when you finally feel ready. The trajectory of your entire year is set in motion in the first quarter, the first 90 days. January, February, March. This is not philosophy. This is how the human brain works. Your brain is a pattern recognition machine. It is constantly asking one question: who am I based on what I repeatedly do? And the most powerful time for that identity formation is the beginning of a cycle. The first quarter is when habits form faster, stick harder, and become automatic sooner. Why? Because your brain is alert. It is watching closely. It is collecting evidence. Early actions carry more psychological weight than later ones. That is why first impressions matter. That is why first weeks on a job define reputation. That is why the first months of a year define identity. If you are disciplined early, your brain labels you as disciplined. If you are inconsistent early, your brain locks an inconsistency as the norm. And once a norm is set, everything after becomes harder to change. This is why most people lose a year before they realize it. They start with talk. They start with excitement. They start with vague intentions. Then resistance appears. Fatigue appears. Discomfort appears. They miss workouts. They overspend. They procrastinate. They negotiate with themselves. And here's the dangerous part. They don't just fail at the action. They fail at the meaning. Their brain records. See? Same as always. Nothing changes. This year is no different. That sentence, this year is no different, is lethal. Once your brain accepts that narrative, effort drops, standards drop, attention drops. The year begins to coast on autopilot. This is why people don't consciously quit their goals. They drift away from them. They stop tracking. They stop pushing. They stop expecting more from themselves. And by April, the year already feels old. Elite performers understand this at a deep level. They do not wait to see how the year feels. They attack early execution. They know momentum compounds faster than motivation. Motivation is emotional. Momentum is mechanical. Motivation depends on mood. Momentum depends on movement. When you act consistently early, even when it's uncomfortable, something powerful happens. Your brain starts to say, "This is who we are now." We don't quit. We show up. And once that identity is installed, behavior follows automatically. This is why disciplined people appear naturally consistent. They are not special. They simply won the early phase. They paid the price up front. Now let's get practical. You need to understand this clearly. The first quarter is not about perfection. It is about proof. Proof to yourself that you act when it's hard. Proof that you keep promises. Proof that you don't need perfect conditions. Most people make the mistake of chasing results early. Elite performers chase standards. They ask different questions. Not, am I seeing results yet? But, did I execute today? Not, do I feel motivated? But, did I follow the plan? Early execution is not glamorous. It is repetitive. It is boring. It is uncomfortable. And that is exactly why it works. Your job in the first 90 days is to remove doubt. Doubt is the enemy of momentum. Every missed promise creates doubt. Every kept promise destroys it. That means small, boring actions done daily are more powerful than massive bursts of effort done occasionally. Here is what you must do. First, simplify your focus. Do not overload yourself with 20 goals. That guarantees failure. Choose a small number of non-negotiable behaviors. Wake time, work block, training, learning, tracking, behaviors, not outcomes. Second, front-load consistency, not intensity. Do not try to dominate day 1 and disappear by day 10. Your brain doesn't care how hard you went once. It cares how often you show up. Consistency is what wires identity. Third, track everything daily. Not to judge, to observe. Tracking creates awareness. Awareness creates control. If you are not tracking, you are guessing. And guessing leads to self-deception. Fourth, expect resistance immediately. If you are waiting for it to get easier before you commit, you have already lost. Resistance is not a sign you're doing something wrong. It's a sign you are doing something important. Elite performers don't ask, why is this hard? They say, of course this is hard. Hard is normal at the beginning. Now let's address the dangerous lie people tell themselves. I'll get serious later. I'll lock in after things settle down. I just need to get through this busy period. No, later never comes with power. Later comes with excuses. Early action is what gives later leverage. If you win early, you don't need willpower later. If you lose early, later requires heroics. And most people are not built for heroics. They are built for habits. This is why the first quarter decides a year. By March, your routines either run you or ruin you. By March, your spending habits are either controlled or chaotic. By March, your health is either stabilizing or declining. By March, your self-respect is either rising or eroding. And the scary part? By March, most people stop believing they can still turn around. That belief dies early. Your job is to protect belief through action, not affirmations, not vision boards, not speeches. Action. Every day you show up when you don't feel like it, you build evidence. Evidence builds belief. Belief fuels momentum. This is the cycle winners live in. Now understand this clearly. You do not need a perfect plan. You need early obedience. Obedience to your schedule. Obedience to your standards. Obedience to your commitments. Do not negotiate with yourself in the first 90 days. Negotiation kills momentum. Decide once, then execute repeatedly. That is how identity forms. That is how discipline becomes automatic. That is how the year bends in your favor. Accept this truth now, not later. Your year is not waiting to be decided. It is being decided right now. And the earlier you act, the easier everything that follows becomes. This chapter is your warning and your opportunity. Chapter 2. Kill the fantasy. Motivation will not save you. You need to hear this without emotion. Motivation will not save you. Motivation is a feeling. Feelings are unstable, and unstable tools cannot build stable lives. If motivation were enough, everyone would be successful. Everyone has felt motivated. Almost no one stays disciplined. This is where most people lose a year. They confuse wanting with doing. They confuse excitement with execution. They confuse inspiration with structure. Motivation spikes at the beginning. It always does. New year, new goals, new promises. Then resistance shows up, fatigue, boredom, doubt, discomfort, and motivation disappears the moment it is needed most. This is not a personal flaw. This is biology. Motivation is tied to dopamine. Dopamine responds to novelty. Once novelty fades, so does motivation. That usually happens within 21 days. That's why gyms empty out. That's why budgets collapse. That's why routines vanish. People don't fail because they are weak. They fail because they built their plan on emotion. When motivation is the engine, resistance is the crash. People who rely on motivation quit the moment it gets uncomfortable. And it always gets uncomfortable early. Elite performers know this. They do not ask, "Do I feel like it?" They ask, "What is scheduled?" They do not wait for readiness. They create non-negotiables. Let's define that clearly. A non-negotiable is an action that happens regardless of mood, energy, or circumstance. No debate, no discussion, no internal bargaining. You don't negotiate brushing your teeth. You don't negotiate showing up to work. That's why those behaviors happen automatically. Your job in the first 90 days is to turn your highest impact actions into non-negotiable routines. Not goals. Routines. Goals are outcomes. Routines are behaviors. Goals are fragile. Routines are durable. Here's the mistake people make. They build plans that require them to feel good. I'll work out when I have energy. I'll focus when I'm motivated. I'll start when life slows down. Life never slows down. Energy is inconsistent. Motivation is optional. Structure is what carries you when all of that disappears. Structure removes decision-making. Decision-making drains energy. Drained energy leads to quitting. This is why discipline feels hard at first and easy later. At first, you are deciding every day. Later, the system decides for you. Your goal is to eliminate daily choice. The more choices you have, the weaker you become. So here's what you must do. First, design your days in advance. Not in your head, on paper, or digitally. Decide wake time. Decide work blocks. Decide training time. Decide learning time. Once decided, execution is simple. No thinking. No debating. Second, lower the barrier to starting. Most people make routines too ambitious. They aim for perfection and quit from exhaustion. Instead, design routines that are impossible to fail. 10 minutes of movement. One focused work block. One learning session. You are not training intensity yet. You are training consistency. Consistency comes before intensity. Third, attach routines to existing behaviors. Habit stacking works because it removes friction. Wake up, drink water. After work, train. Before bed, review the day. No gap, no choice. Fourth, decide the rule ahead of time. The rule is simple. I do this no matter what. Tired? Do it. Busy? Do it. Unmotivated? Do it. The rule eliminates emotion. This is where most people resist. They want flexibility. They want freedom. But freedom comes later. Structure comes first. Discipline is the price of freedom. Without discipline, you are ruled by impulse. With discipline, you control direction. Now let's address a dangerous belief. I just need to get motivated again. No, you need to get organized. Motivation follows action, not the other way around. Action creates momentum. Momentum creates confidence. Confidence creates motivation. Waiting to feel motivated is backward. If you want motivation, move first. Elite performers understand this loop. They move even when it feels pointless, especially when it feels pointless, because they know the feeling will catch up. Now here's another truth. Motivation makes you feel good about planning. Discipline makes you uncomfortable while executing. Most people prefer comfort now and regret later. Elite performers choose discomfort now and ease later. That choice is made daily. And here's the critical point. Systems beat willpower. Willpower is limited. Systems are renewable. If you rely on willpower, you will eventually lose. If you rely on systems, you will eventually win. Your environment should support your routines. Remove distractions. Prepare tools in advance. Make the right action easier than the wrong one. If your phone controls your attention, put away. If junk food controls your diet, remove it. If chaos controls your day, schedule it. Stop asking yourself to be strong in a weak environment. Strength is built through design, not force. Now, let's make this practical. Choose 3 non-negotiables for the next 90 days. Only 3. 1 for your body, 1 for your work or money, 1 for your mind. Make them small enough to complete on your worst day. Then protect them like your future depends on them. Because it does. Miss 1 day, you recover immediately. Miss 2 days, you intervene aggressively. Never miss 3. That rule saves years. And finally, understand this. You are not lazy. You are unstructured. You are not unmotivated. You are uncommitted to systems. Once structure is in place, effort drops. Once effort drops, consistency rises. Once consistency rises, results become inevitable. Kill the fantasy that motivation will save you. It won't. Structure will. Systems will. Non-negotiables will. Chapter 3. Decide your identity before you decide your goals. This is where most people get it wrong. They start with goals. They chase outcomes. They obsess over results. And then they wonder why nothing sticks. Goals do not change people. Identity does. Read that again. Goals are something you want. Identity is who you believe you are. And behavior always follows identity. If you see yourself as inconsistent, you will act inconsistently. If you see yourself as disciplined, you will find a way to execute. This is why goals fail when they are not aligned with identity. I want success is weak. I am disciplined is powerful. I want to be fit is fragile. I am someone who trains daily is stable. I want more money is vague. I am a person who manages money aggressively is specific. The first 90 days are not about achieving the goal. They are about becoming the person who naturally achieves the goal. This is a critical distinction. If you focus only on outcomes, you will quit when results are slow. If you focus on identity, you will persist even when progress is invisible. Identity survives boredom. Goals don't. Now, let's get clear on how identity actually forms. Identity is not built by thinking. It is built by evidence. Your brain does not listen to what you say. It watches what you do. Every action you take casts a vote for discipline, or a vote for comfort, a vote for leadership, or a vote for avoidance. You are voting all day long. And here's the part most people ignore. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be consistent enough for the votes to stack. One vote does not define identity. Repeated votes do. That is why daily actions matter more than dramatic effort. This is why the first 90 days are so powerful. Your brain is actively asking, who are we becoming this year? And it answers based on what you repeatedly do early. If you wake up early for 30 days, your brain starts to say, we are someone who wakes up early. If you train consistently, we are someone who takes care of our body. If you track your money, we are someone who controls finances. Once the identity label is installed, behavior follows automatically. This is why disciplined people don't rely on willpower. They rely on self-image. They don't say, I have to. They say, that's what I do. Your job is to deliberately install the right identity, and you do that through intentional action, not intention. Here's a mistake people make. They pick goals that conflict with their current identity. They want high performance with low discipline. They want wealth with poor money habits. They want confidence with avoidance behavior. That creates internal friction. The brain resists actions that don't match identity. That's why change feels so hard at first. You are not fighting the task. You are fighting your self-image. The solution is not more motivation. The solution is identity alignment. So here's what you must do. First, define the identity you are installing for the year. Not vague traits. Specific behaviors. Not successful. Trains daily. Plans a day. Tracks money. Finishes what they start. Write it down. I am the type of person who underscore. Fill in the blank with actions, not outcomes. Second, shrink the behavior to fit the identity. Do not try to become the final version immediately. You are not installing the mansion. You are laying the foundation. If the identity is, I am disciplined, the behavior might be, wake up at the same time every day. If the identity is, I am focused, the behavior might be, one distraction-free work block. Small actions still count as votes. A vote is a vote. Third, protect the identity during the first 90 days. This means you stop doing things that contradict it. You cannot install a disciplined identity while repeatedly breaking promises. You cannot install a confident identity while constantly avoiding discomfort. Every contradiction weakens a signal. This is why standards matter more than outcomes early. You don't ask, did I win today? You ask, did I act like the person I'm becoming? That question changes everything. Now let's talk about setbacks. You will fail at times. That is not the issue. The issue is how you interpret failure. Most people say, see, I'm not that person. Elite performers say, that action was out of character. Language matters. You are not installing a perfect identity. You are installing a directional identity. One mistake does not erase 20 wins, unless you let it. Never allow a bad day to define who you are. Identity is decided by patterns, not moments. Now, here's another critical rule. Identity changes fastest when actions are inconvenient. Anyone can act when it's easy. Identity forms when you act when it's hard. That is why early mornings matter. That is why showing up tired matters. That is why executing without recognition matters. Those actions send a strong signal to the brain. We do this even when it's uncomfortable. That sentence is the backbone of self-respect. And self-respect fuels everything else. Now, let's get practical again. Each morning, ask one question. What would the disciplined version of me do today? Then do that. Each night, review one thing. Did I act in alignment with the identity I'm building? This daily reflection accelerates identity formation. You are training awareness. Most people sleepwalk through their days. Elite performers observe themselves. They catch misalignment early, and they correct quickly. This is the difference between drifting and directing. Another important point. Do not wait for confidence to act like a confident person. Confidence is a byproduct of behavior. Act confident. Speak clearly. Stand straight. Finish tasks. Confidence follows. Identity always lags behavior, never the reverse. Now understand this clearly. The first 90 days are not about proving yourself to others. They are about proving yourself to yourself. Every kept promise builds trust. Every broken promise breaks it. Trust with yourself is a foundation of discipline, and discipline is a foundation of success. This is why identity comes before goals. Goals without identity create pressure. Identity without goals creates progress. Once the identity is locked in, goals become easier, not because they change, but because you change. You stop negotiating. You stop quitting. You stop waiting. You act, and action compounds. Remember this. Every day, every choice, every behavior is a vote. You are voting whether you like it or not. The only question is, are you voting intentionally? Decide who you are becoming before you decide what you want. Because once identity is set, achievement becomes inevitable. Chapter 4. Front-load pain to buy freedom. This chapter separates amateurs from professionals. Because everyone wants freedom, very few are willing to pay for it early. High performers understand a simple rule. Pain is unavoidable. Timing is optional. You will feel discomfort this year, no matter what. The only question is when. You can choose pain now, or pain later. Choose early pain, and you buy freedom. Choose early comfort, and you buy pressure. Most people get this backward. They chase comfort at the beginning. They ease into the year. They start slow, and then reality arrives. Deadlines pile up. Money gets tight. Health declines. Stress increases. Suddenly, life demands effort at the worst possible time. High performers flip the script. They intentionally make the first 90 days uncomfortable. They wake up earlier than necessary. They train when it hurts. They restrict spending. They focus when distractions are tempting, not because they enjoy pain, but because they understand leverage. Early sacrifice removes future chaos. This is not punishment. This is strategy. Comfort feels good in the moment, but comfort compounds into weakness. Pain feels bad in the moment, but pain compounds into strength. And strength creates freedom. Let's talk about the illusion people live under. They believe that taking it easy now will give them energy later. That is false. Comfort does not create energy. Comfort drains it. Comfort makes discipline harder. Comfort lowers tolerance for discomfort. Comfort increases avoidance. That's why people who live comfortably are often exhausted. They are not tired from effort. They are tired from indecision, guilt, and stress. Early discomfort eliminates those drains. When you front-load pain, you simplify life. You remove decisions. You remove anxiety. You remove regret. You know what needs to be done, and you do it. Now let's define what front-loading pain actually looks like. It does not mean burnout. It does not mean chaos. It does not mean reckless intensity. It means controlled discomfort, intentional sacrifice, planned restriction, deliberate effort. Here's how to apply it. First, attack your mornings. Early mornings are uncomfortable. That's the point. Waking up early trains discipline. It builds psychological authority. It sets the tone for the entire day. You in the morning, the day follows. High performers don't wait to see how the day goes. They take control before the world wakes up. Second, over-prepare. Most people prepare just enough to survive. High performers prepare so thoroughly that execution feels easy. They plan the week. They prepare meals. They set clothes out. They organize work in advance. Preparation is uncomfortable because it requires effort up front. But lack of preparation creates daily stress. You either pay in planning or you pay in panic. Third, delay gratification aggressively. This is where freedom is truly bought. Spend less than you want. Eat cleaner than you crave. Rest less than you feel like. Not forever. Just early. Delayed gratification builds self-trust. It teaches your brain that you are in control, not your impulses. Impulse control early prevents regret later. Fourth, do the hard thing first. Every day has a task you want to avoid. That task is the one that matters most. High performers don't postpone it. They attack it immediately. Once the hardest thing is done, the rest of the day feels lighter. Avoidance compounds stress. Execution destroys it. Now let's talk about why this works psychologically. When you choose discomfort early, your brain rewires its expectations. It learns this is normal. We can handle this. We don't need comfort to function. That raises your tolerance. Higher tolerance means less emotional reaction to difficulty. Less emotional reaction means more consistency. Consistency creates momentum. Momentum creates freedom. Freedom is not the absence of effort. Freedom is effort without resistance. Most people experience effort with resistance because they avoided discomfort earlier. They didn't build capacity. Capacity is built under pressure. Now let's address fear. Many people avoid front-loading pain because they are afraid of burning out. Burnout does not come from effort. Burnout comes from effort without progress. Front-loading pain creates progress early. Progress fuels energy. There is nothing more energizing than knowing you are ahead. Ahead on work, ahead on money, ahead on health. That feeling removes mental load. Mental load is what exhausts people. High performers are not less busy. They are less burdened because they paid the price early. Now here's another uncomfortable truth. Regret is heavier than effort. Effort ends when the task is done. Regret lingers. Regret shows up at night. Regret shows up in stress. Regret shows up in self-doubt. Front-loading pain minimizes regret. You know you're doing what needs to be done. That creates peace. Peace is not comfort. Peace is alignment. Now, let's make this practical. For the next 90 days, you must choose one area where you deliberately increase discomfort. 1. Not everything. It could be training harder. It could be saving aggressively. It could be waking earlier. It could be cutting distractions. Choose one and commit. Discomfort does not need to be dramatic. It needs to be consistent. And remember this rule. If it feels easy early, it will feel brutal later. If it feels hard early, it will feel effortless later. That is the trade. Now let's talk about the end of the year. Most people reach the end exhausted, disappointed, and frustrated. They scramble. They panic. They rush. They promise themselves next year will be different. High performers reach the end calm, stable, and confident. They are not scrambling. They are refining because they did the hard work when it mattered most. Early. This is why comfort in the beginning guarantees pressure at the end. Pressure from money problems. Pressure from health issues. Pressure from unfinished goals. And pressure is far more painful than discipline. Discipline is chosen. Pressure is forced. Choose discipline. Choose early discomfort. Buy your freedom intentionally. Because freedom is not free. It is prepaid. Chapter 5. Build a ruthless daily structure. If your day is unstructured, your year will be unstable. That is not an opinion. That is a law. Chaos at the daily level compounds into failure at the yearly level. Most people don't lack motivation. They lack structure. They wake up and react. They check their phone. They respond to whatever demands attention first. By noon, their energy is gone. By evening, discipline is dead. This is decision fatigue in action. Every decision drains mental energy. What to do first, what to work on, what to ignore, when to rest. An unstructured day forces you to decide constantly. And exhausted people make emotional decisions. They choose comfort. They choose distraction. They choose shortcuts. Structure eliminates this problem. Structure decides in advance. Structure removes negotiation. Structure makes discipline automatic. High performers do not rely on self-control. They rely on pre-commitment. They decide once. Then they execute daily. Let's make this practical. A ruthless daily structure has 4 pillars. Wake time, work blocks, learning time, reflection. Miss one and instability creeps in. First, fix wake time. This is non-negotiable. Not when you feel like it. Not when you're motivated. Every day, your wake time anchors your entire schedule. Inconsistent wake times create inconsistent energy. Inconsistent energy creates inconsistent execution. High performers wake up at the same time on weekdays and weekends. Why? Because rhythm matters more than sleep-ins. Your body and brain crave predictability. Predictability creates focus. Second, define work blocks. Work does not happen by accident. Focus must be scheduled. You need blocks of time where distractions are removed and attention is singular. No phone, no notifications, no multitasking, just one task. Most people work all day but accomplish very little. They switch tasks constantly. They check messages. They scroll. That is not work. That is activity. Activity feels productive. Focus produces results. Your structure should include at least one deep work block daily. Protect it. This is where progress is made. Third, scheduled learning. If you are not learning, you are stagnating. Growth does not happen passively. High performers schedule learning like a meeting, reading, listening, studying, not randomly, not when there's time. There is never extra time. You make time for what matters. Learning early compounds faster than learning later. Fourth, daily reflection. This is where awareness is built. Reflection is not overthinking. It is course correction. At the end of the day, you ask, what did I execute well? Where did I break structure? What must change tomorrow? 5 minutes is enough. This keeps you conscious. Most people drift because they never reflect. They repeat the same mistakes because they never observe patterns. Now let's address resistance. People say structure feels restrictive. That's because they associate structure with control. They are wrong. Structure creates freedom. Without structure, your time is controlled by others. Your attention is hijacked by distractions. Your energy is drained by indecision. Structure gives you control over your day, and control creates calm. Now here's a critical rule. Structure must be realistic. If your structure requires perfection, it will fail. Design for your worst days, not your best. On your worst day, can you still wake up at the set time? Can you still complete one work block? Can you still reflect? If yes, the structure will hold. If no, simplify it. Complexity kills consistency. Consistency is the goal. Now, let's talk about emotional decision-making. When structure is missing, emotions decide. You work when you feel like it. You train when you have energy. You save when you're inspired. That is a recipe for inconsistency. Structure removes emotion from the equation. You do not ask how you feel. You follow the plan. Feelings catch up later. Now let's talk about distractions. Your structure must include boundaries. No phone during work blocks. No scrolling before your first task. No reactive mornings. What you consume first thing in the morning sets your mental tone. If you consume chaos, you create chaos. If you create structure, you consume clarity. Now here's a warning. Do not confuse busyness with structure. Filling your day with tasks is not structure. Structure is intentional sequencing. Hard tasks first. Deep work before shallow work. Creation before consumption. Order matters. Now, let's talk about flexibility. Structure does not mean rigidity. It means predictable priorities. If something unexpected happens, you adjust, but you return to structure immediately. You do not abandon it. Missing a day is not failure. Abandoning structure is. This is why structure must be simple and repeatable. Now, let's make this actionable. Tonight, design tomorrow. Write down, wake time, first task, work block, training or movement, learning, reflection. That's it. Do not overthink. Then repeat that structure tomorrow, and the next day, and the next. Your brain will adapt. After a few weeks, execution becomes easier. After a few months, it becomes automatic. That's when discipline stops feeling like discipline. It feels like normal life. Now understand this clearly. Structure is not optional for high performance. It is required. If your day is chaotic, your goals don't matter. If your day is intentional, progress becomes inevitable. Structure is how you win boring days. Boring days make up most of life, and people who can win boring days win years. Chapter 6. The Money Rule. Control cash flow before lifestyle. Money exposes discipline faster than anything else. You can fake motivation. You can fake confidence. You cannot fake cash flow. The way you handle money in the first 90 days will quietly decide your financial future for the year, and often for much longer. This chapter is not about getting rich quick. It is about not sabotaging yourself early. Because most people don't fail financially from lack of income. They fail from lack of control. And that failure starts early. The first 90 days establish your financial defaults. How you spend, how you save, how you earn, how you react emotionally to money. Once those patterns set in, they run automatically. That's why people say, "I don't know where my money goes." It goes where your habits send it. And habits, once locked in, are hard to reverse mid-year. Here's the rule you must accept. Cash flow control comes before lifestyle. Always. Most people reverse this. They increase income and immediately increase lifestyle. More money, better car, better clothes, more subscriptions, more comfort. That feels like progress. It's not. That is lifestyle inflation. And lifestyle inflation is silent wealth destruction. It doesn't feel dangerous. It feels deserved. But it kills flexibility. It kills focus. It kills long-term leverage. High performers do the opposite. They increase income and delay lifestyle upgrades. They hold the line. Why? Because control creates options. Options create power. Now let's break this down practically. First, you must know your numbers. If you don't know exactly what comes in and what goes out, you are operating blind. No excuses. Track income. Track expenses. Track savings. Not roughly. Precisely. Awareness is the first form of control. Most people avoid tracking because it creates discomfort. That discomfort is necessary. Discomfort reveals leaks. Leaks destroy wealth. Second, lock your spending early. The first 90 days are about restriction, not indulgence. This is temporary, but it is critical. Cut unnecessary expenses. Pause lifestyle upgrades. Eliminate impulse spending. Not forever. Early discipline buys later freedom. Every dollar you don't waste now becomes leverage later. Third, separate identity from consumption. This is where many people get trapped. They use spending to feel successful. They buy to signal progress. That is dangerous. True wealth is invisible early. High performers don't look rich. They build rich. They delay external rewards to strengthen internal position. If your self-worth depends on what you buy, you will never build wealth. You will always trade long-term power for short-term validation. Fourth, automate saving and investing immediately. Do not trust willpower. Money that sits in your account will be spent. Automate transfers. Automate savings. Automate investments. Pay yourself first, not what's left over. First, this creates a system that protects you from yourself. Now let's talk about earning. Most people obsess over cutting expenses. Wealth builders obsess over increasing earning capacity, but not in a reckless way. They prioritize skill acquisition and income leverage. Skills compound faster than savings. Learning high-value skills early changes the entire trajectory of the year. Sales, communication, technical skills, leadership. These skills increase earning power without increasing hours. That is leverage. Wealth is not built by working more forever. It is built by working smarter over time. But here's the key. You cannot focus on skill building if lifestyle pressure is high. High expenses force short-term decisions. You take bad opportunities. You stay stuck. You play defense. Low expenses create breathing room. Breathing room allows strategy. This is why controlling cash flow comes before lifestyle. Now let's address a dangerous belief. I deserve to enjoy my money. Yes, but timing matters. Enjoyment without control becomes regret. Wealth builders enjoy later what others consume early, and they enjoy it without stress. Most people enjoy early and pay later. High performers delay rewards intentionally. They are not deprived. They are strategic. They know reward feels better when it is earned and sustainable. Now, let's talk about emotional spending, stress spending, impulse buying, comfort purchases. These are signals of poor emotional regulation. Money leaks where discipline breaks. If you use spending to cope, you will never build wealth. You must learn to sit with discomfort without buying relief. That is a skill, and it can be trained. Next, create a simple money structure. Do not overcomplicate. One account for bills, one account for spending, one account for saving or investing. Clarity reduces mistakes. Confusion creates excuses. Structure forces discipline. Now here's a hard truth. Your financial future is less about how much you make and more about how you behave. Behavior decides everything, and behavior is easiest to change early. That's why the first 90 days matter. If you establish control now, money becomes a tool. If you don't, money becomes a source of stress. Stress kills focus. Focus is required for growth. Now, let's make this actionable. For the next 90 days, no major lifestyle upgrades. No new recurring expenses unless essential. Track every dollar. Automate savings. Invest in skills, not status. That's it. This is not punishment. This is positioning. Positioning yourself for freedom. And understand this. Wealth is built quietly, then enjoyed loudly, if you choose. Most people try to enjoy loudly without building quietly. That is why they stay stuck. You are not trying to look successful this year. You are trying to become successful. That requires restraint. Restraint early prevents restriction later. Now here's the final point. Money amplifies who you already are. If you are disciplined, more money increases freedom. If you are impulsive, more money increases chaos. That's why discipline must come first. Control your cash flow before lifestyle. Every time. Chapter 7. Master self-control or be owned by distraction. Distraction is not a minor problem. It is a silent killer. It doesn't announce itself as failure. It disguises itself as harmless breaks, quick checks, small rewards. And in the first quarter, distraction kills momentum faster than mistakes ever could. You can recover from a bad decision. You cannot recover from constant distraction, because distraction doesn't stop you once. It erodes you daily. Here's the truth most people avoid. You are not lacking discipline. You are overdosed on stimulation. Phones, notifications, feeds, endless content. Your attention is under attack all day, and attention is a foundation of self-control. When attention is fragmented, discipline collapses. That is why people feel busy but accomplish nothing. That is why days disappear without progress. That is why goals fade quietly. Distraction steals time. But worse, it steals identity. Every time you give in to impulse, your brain learns, We don't resist. We don't focus. We seek relief. That becomes a default. Now, let's talk about dopamine. Dopamine is not pleasure. It is anticipation. Every scroll, every swipe, every notification. Small hits, constant hits. Your brain becomes trained to seek novelty instead of depth. And depth is where results live. This is why deep work feels harder than scrolling. Your brain has been rewired. Instant gratification weakens your tolerance for effort. The more you indulge, the weaker self-control becomes. But here's the good news. Self-control is not a personality trait. It is a trainable muscle. And like any muscle, it strengthens through resistance. You don't build strength by avoiding weight. You build it by lifting deliberately. The same applies to discipline. You must train it. And training requires restriction, not forever, but intentionally. High performers do not try to eliminate distraction completely. They contain it. They decide when and how stimulation is allowed. They do not let impulses decide. That is the difference. Now, let's break this down into action. First, audit your distractions. Not vaguely. Specifically, what apps consume your time? When do you reach for your phone? What are you avoiding when you distract yourself? Distraction is often avoidance in disguise. Awareness comes before control. If you don't know your triggers, you will never beat them. Second, create friction. Make distraction harder to access. Remove apps from your home screen. Turn off non-essential notifications. Keep your phone in another room during work. Friction buys you seconds. Seconds allow choice. Without friction, impulse wins instantly. Third, schedule dopamine. This is critical. Do not try to rely on willpower all day. That fails. Instead, decide when stimulation is allowed. After work blocks, after training, after key tasks. This trains delayed gratification. You are teaching your brain. Reward comes after effort. That rewires behavior. Fourth, practice deliberate boredom. This is uncomfortable. That's why it works. Stand in line without your phone. Sit quietly for a few minutes. Go for a walk without audio. Boredom trains attention. It rebuilds your ability to focus without stimulation. Most people avoid boredom at all costs. High performers use it as training. Now, let's talk about the lie people believe. I need my phone for work. No, you need boundaries for work. Tools become weapons when uncontrolled. Your phone is not the enemy. Your relationship with it is. You must decide who is in control, you or the device. Next, install focus rituals. Before deep work, do the same sequence. Clear the desk. Silence the phone. Set a timer. Rituals tell the brain, it's time to focus. Without rituals, focus requires willpower. With rituals, focus becomes automatic. Now here's a hard truth. If you cannot control small impulses, you will never control big goals. Self-control is built at the micro level. What you eat when stressed, what you do when bored, what you choose when no one is watching. Those moments define discipline. Now let's address instant gratification. Instant gratification feels good now. It feels terrible later. Delayed gratification feels uncomfortable now. It feels powerful later. This is a trade. High performers are not immune to temptation. They are practiced at resisting it. And resistance gets easier with repetition. Every time you say no to impulse, you strengthen the muscle. Every time you give in, you weaken it. Neutral does not exist. Now let's talk about energy. Distraction drains energy. Constant switching exhausts the brain. That's why people feel tired even when they haven't worked hard. They have been mentally fragmented. Focus restores energy. One task, one direction, One block. That creates flow. Flow is energizing. Now let's make this practical. For the next 30 days, no phone during the first hour of the day. No phone during work blocks. No mindless scrolling before bed. That alone will change everything. Replace scrolling with reading. Replace checking with thinking. Replace reacting with planning. This will feel uncomfortable at first. Good. That discomfort is the muscle growing. Now here's another critical rule. Never reward distraction. Do not say, I worked hard, so I deserve to scroll. That trains the wrong association. Reward effort with rest, not stimulation. Walks, quiet time, reflection. Stimulation should be intentional, not automatic. Now let's talk about failure. You will slip. That's expected. The rule is simple. Notice quickly. Correct immediately. Do not spiral. One slip does not define you. Repeated, uncorrected slips do. Speed of recovery matters more than perfection. Now understand this. Distraction is not harmless entertainment. It is a training program. It trains your brain to avoid effort. It trains impatience. It trains weakness. Focus trains strength. And strength creates freedom. You cannot build anything meaningful with distracted mind. Not wealth, not skill, not confidence. The first quarter demands attention. Momentum is fragile early. Protect it, because once momentum is strong, distraction loses power. It can't derail what's already moving, but early on it can stop everything. So choose deliberately. Master self-control, or be owned by distraction. There is no middle ground. Chapter 8. Track everything or drift everywhere. If you are not tracking, you are guessing. And guessing always leads to self-deception. This chapter is about reality, not feelings, not intentions. Facts, because what is not tracked cannot improve, and what is not tracked will eventually decline. This is not pessimism. It is entropy. Left unmanaged, everything drifts toward disorder. Your time, your money, your health, your focus. Drift feels harmless at first. Then one day you look up and realize nothing moved. High achievers do not allow drift. They measure. They obsess over metrics not because they are rigid, but because data destroys excuses. Excuses survive in vagueness. They die in clarity. Tracking creates clarity. Now let's address resistance. People say tracking is tedious. They say it feels obsessive. They say it removes spontaneity. That is nonsense. Tracking does not remove freedom. It removes delusion. Delusion is expensive. Now let's get clear on what tracking actually does. Tracking builds awareness. Awareness reveals patterns. Patterns reveal problems. Problems reveal solutions. Without tracking, you react emotionally. With tracking, you respond intelligently. Now here's the truth. Most people don't fail from lack of effort. They fail from lack of feedback. They don't know what's working. They don't know what's not. So they repeat mistakes. High performers run feedback loops. Daily, weekly, monthly. That is how they course correct early. Now, let's break this down into areas. First, time tracking. Time is the most wasted resource. People say they don't have time. They do. They just don't know where it goes. Track how you spend your day. Not forever. Just long enough to see the truth. Work, distraction, rest, movement. The numbers will tell a story. And that story is usually uncomfortable. Good. Discomfort creates change. Second, habit tracking. Did you wake up on time? Did you train? Did you complete your work block? Did you learn? Yes or no? No stories. No explanations. Binary tracking forces honesty. You either did it or you didn't. High performers do not argue with data. They adjust behavior. Third, money tracking. You already know this matters. Every dollar in, every dollar out. Tracking money is not about restriction. It's about control. Control reduces anxiety. Anxiety leads to impulsive decisions. Fourth, health tracking. Sleep, training, nutrition, not perfection. Patterns. You don't need to track every calorie. You need to notice trends. Low energy days, poor sleep weeks, missed workouts. The body gives signals. Tracking makes them visible. Now, let's address a common fear. What if I don't like what I see? Good. That means tracking is working. Reality does not change because you ignore it, but it can change when you face it. Tracking turns fear into information. Information creates power. Now, let's talk about accountability. Tracking makes you accountable to yourself. No excuses. No rewriting history. You can't say, "I tried," when the data says otherwise. This is why tracking is uncomfortable for undisciplined people. It removes escape routes. High performers want fewer escape routes. They want truth. Truth accelerates growth. Now let's talk about consistency. Tracking increases consistency automatically. Why? Because behavior changes when observed. This is called the observer effect. When you know you will record your actions, you act differently, more intentionally, more carefully. This is not pressure. It is alignment. Now, let's make this practical. You do not need complex systems. Simple beats perfect. Use a notebook, use an app, use a spreadsheet. The tool does not matter. Consistency does. Track daily. Review weekly. During the week, record facts. At the end of the week, analyze patterns. Ask 3 questions. What worked? What didn't? What needs adjustment? That's it. Do not overcomplicate. Now, let's talk about metrics. Track inputs, not just outcomes. Outcomes lag. Inputs led. You cannot control results directly. You can control actions. Track actions. Hours worked. Sessions trained. Skills practiced. Results will follow. Now here's a critical rule. Never lie to your tracker. You are only cheating yourself. Tracking is a mirror. If you don't like what you see, change behavior, not the record. Honesty is a foundation of improvement. Now let's talk about drift. Drift happens slowly. One skipped workout. One untracked expense. One distracted afternoon. Individually harmless. Collectively destructive. Tracking catches drift early. It sounds the alarm before damage compounds. High performers correct early. Late corrections are expensive. Now, let's talk about emotional resistance. You may miss days. That is not failure. The rule is simple. Resume immediately. Never let missed tracking become abandonment. Abandonment creates chaos. Resumption creates momentum. Now understand this. Tracking is not forever. It is training wheels. Once habits stabilize, tracking becomes lighter. But in the first 90 days, it is essential. The first quarter is fragile. Small mistakes can derail momentum. Tracking protects momentum. Now let's close with this. If you don't track, your year will be decided by chance. If you do track, your year will be decided by choice. Choice requires awareness. Awareness requires data. Track everything or drift everywhere. There is no neutral ground. Chapter 9. The 90-Day Leadership Shift. Lead yourself first. Leadership does not start with other people. It starts with you. Before influence, before authority, before confidence. Leadership begins with self-command. If you cannot lead yourself, you cannot lead anyone else. This chapter is about that shift. The internal shift that happens in the first 90 days. The shift that separates followers from leaders. The shift most people never make. Let's destroy a myth. Leadership is not charisma. It is not loud confidence. It is not titled positions or opinions. Leadership is credibility. And credibility starts internally. If you say you will do something and don't do it, you lose authority. Not in public, inside. And once internal authority is broken, everything weakens. Your posture changes. Your voice softens. Your decisions hesitate. People feel it. You cannot fake self-command. Now understand this clearly. The way you speak to yourself in the first 90 days sets your internal hierarchy for the entire year. If you negotiate with weakness early, weakness becomes your leader. If you enforce standards early, discipline takes command. Leadership is about who is in charge. Most people let moods lead. Emotions decide. Excuses vote. Leaders do not negotiate with feelings. They observe them, then act anyway. Now let's talk about self-talk. Your inner voice is either a commander or a saboteur. Most people let it ramble. I'll start tomorrow. I deserve a break. It's not a big deal. That is not kindness. That is abdication. Leaders use precise language, short commands, clear instructions, no drama. Get up, do the work, finish the block. No debate. This is not cruelty. It is respect. You respect yourself enough to demand standards. Now let's talk about promises. Confidence is not built through affirmations. It is built through kept promises. Every promise kept strengthens self-trust. Every broken promise weakens it. Self-trust is leadership capital. When you trust yourself, decisions become faster. Execution becomes cleaner. Presence becomes stronger. In the first 90 days, your only job is to build self-trust, not impress anyone, not expand fast, not chase validation. Build credibility with yourself. That means small promises, kept daily, wait time, training, work blocks. Do not promise what you cannot keep. Leaders underpromise and overdeliver. Now let's address discipline. Discipline is not punishment. It is alignment. Alignment between intention and action. When those two match, confidence rises naturally. No hype required. Now, let's talk about emotional leadership. Most people are emotionally reactive. They let the day decide their state. Leaders decide their state before the day begins. Not fake positivity. Stability. Calm. Neutral. Grounded. Leadership energy is regulated, not erratic. In the first 90 days, eliminate emotional volatility. No dramatic highs. No crashing lows. Consistency builds trust in yourself and others. Now, let's talk about boundaries. Leaders protect their time aggressively, not rudely, firmly. Every yes is a cost. If you say yes to everything, you are not leading. You are responding. In the first 90 days, say no more often. No to distractions. No to unnecessary conversations. No to obligations that dilute focus. This is not selfish. It is responsible. Now let's talk about example. Leadership is silent influence. People do not follow what you say. They follow what you tolerate. If you tolerate laziness in yourself, others will feel it. If you tolerate inconsistency, chaos spreads. Your behavior is your loudest message. In the first 90 days, live the standard. Do not announce it. Demonstrate it. Now let's talk about decisiveness. Indecision kills leadership faster than mistakes. Leaders make decisions with incomplete information. They adjust after. Waiting for certainty is cowardice disguised as caution. In the first 90 days, practice decisive action. Choose, act, review, adjust. That cycle builds confidence rapidly. Now let's address fear. Fear does not disappear with leadership. It becomes managed. Leaders feel fear and move anyway. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is obedience to purpose despite fear. In the first 90 days, deliberately do uncomfortable things. Speak up. Show up early. Train when tired. Discomfort builds authority. Comfort erodes it. Now, let's talk about internal standards. Leaders have rules they do not break, not because someone is watching, because they are. Private standards define public strength. If your discipline collapses when no one sees, leadership is an illusion. In the first 90 days, build private discipline. Wake up when you said you would. Train even when no one knows. Work without applause. This is where leaders are forged. Now let's talk about language again. Stop saying, "I'll try." Try is permission to fail. Leaders say, "I will" or "I won't." Clarity creates strength. Ambiguity creates weakness. Now let's talk about posture and presence. Your body reflects your internal hierarchy. Slouch body, unstable breath, avoidant eyes. That is internal disorder leaking outward. Stand upright. Breathe slowly. Move deliberately. These are not tricks. They are signals to the nervous system. Signals of command. Now, let's talk about responsibility. Leaders do not blame. Not circumstances. Not people. Not timing. They ask one question. What is my responsibility here? Responsibility is power. Blame is weakness. In the first 90 days, eliminate blame language. Replace it with ownership. Ownership creates control. Now let's bring this home. Leadership is not a switch you flip later. It is a pattern you install early. If you lead yourself well in the first 90 days, the rest of the year becomes easier, not effortless, but aligned. And alignment feels like confidence. So here is your directive. Speak to yourself with authority. Keep small promises daily. Set non-negotiable standards. Protect your time. Lead by example. Choose decisively. Embrace discomfort. Eliminate excuses. Do this for 90 days, and you will not need motivation. You will not need permission. You will not need validation. You will have something better. Self-command. Chapter 10. Lock the momentum. Make the next 9 months automatic. The first 90 days are about ignition. The next 9 months are about preservation. This is where most people fail. They build momentum, then they test it. They relax standards. They reintroduce chaos. They start negotiating again. Momentum is not something you challenge. It is something you protect, because momentum is fragile at the edges and ruthless in the middle. Right now, if you did the work, you're entering the winning zone, the zone where quitting feels harder than continuing. This chapter is about locking that in, making progress automatic, making discipline boring, making success inevitable. Let's be clear. Momentum is not motivation. Momentum is inertia. It is forward force created by repeated action. Once it's built, it works for you, but only if you stop interfering. Now here's the mistake people make. They think, I've earned flexibility. They think, I can loosen up now. They think, I'll just see how it goes. That mindset kills momentum, not instantly, gradually. Small exceptions become habits. Habits become drift. Drift becomes collapse. High performers do the opposite. As momentum builds, they reduce variability. Fewer decisions, fewer options, fewer surprises. They make their life boring on purpose. Boring creates consistency. Consistency creates scale. Now let's talk about systems. By now, your system should be running. Wake time, work blocks, training, money rules, tracking. These are no longer experiments. They are defaults. Defaults are powerful. Defaults remove decision-making, and decisions are expensive. Every decision drains willpower. High performers conserve willpower. They automate discipline. Now your job is simple. Do not redesign. Do not overhaul. Refine. Small optimizations only. 10% improvements. Anything bigger is ego disguised as ambition. Now let's talk about effort. In the first 90 days, effort is high. Resistance is high. Friction is high. Now effort should begin to drop. Not output. Effort. If everything still feels heavy, something is wrong. Either your systems are too complex, or you are still relying on motivation. Simplify. Remove steps. Reduce friction. Shorten feedback loops. Effort down. Output steady or rising. That is the goal. Now, let's talk about identity lock-in. By now, you're no longer trying. You are operating as a person. Disciplined, structured, focused, controlled. This identity must be protected. Identity is reinforced through consistency, not intensity. You do not need heroic days anymore. You need normal days done correctly. Most success is unremarkable. That's why most people don't stick with it. They crave drama. Leaders crave reliability. Now, let's talk about temptation. As things improve, temptation increases. More social invites, more distractions, more opportunities. Opportunity is a test. Not everything that is good for you. Momentum requires selective blindness. Say no faster. Protect mornings aggressively. Protect focus ruthlessly. You are not missing out. You are compounding. Now, let's talk about boredom. Boredom is a signal that systems are working. The mind hates boredom. It wants novelty. Novelty is expensive. High performers train boredom tolerance. They do the same work, the same habits, the same routines, day after day. This is not stagnation. This is mastery. Now, let's talk about confidence. At this stage, confidence should be quiet. No hype, no announcements, no proving. Confidence shows up as calm execution. You don't rush. You don't overreact. You don't panic. You trust the process because you build it. Now, let's talk about review. Momentum still needs monitoring. Weekly reviews remain non-negotiable. Ask the same questions. What worked? What drifted? What needs tightening? Small corrections keep momentum clean. Big corrections mean neglect. Do not neglect. Now, let's talk about energy management. Burnout comes from inconsistency, not work. Wild swings drain energy. Stable routines preserve it. Sleep stays fixed. Training stays regular. Nutrition stays predictable. Predictability is power. Now, let's talk about comparison. As you progress, others will notice. Some will comment. Some will question. Some will project. Ignore all of it. Comparison invites ego. Ego destabilizes systems. Stay inward focused. Track your metrics. Follow your plan. Nothing else matters. Now, let's talk about relapse prevention. Assume setbacks will happen. Travel, illness, unexpected events. The rule is simple. Return immediately. No guilt, no punishment, no spiral. Momentum is not perfection. It is fast recovery. Leaders recover quickly. Now, let's talk about the final truth. By now, quitting should feel illogical. Your life is more ordered. Your mind is calmer. Your finances are cleaner. Your confidence is real. Why would you go back? Most people don't fail because they can't succeed. They fail because they forget how bad before felt. Do not forget. Remember the chaos. Remember the drift. Remember the frustration. Let that memory keep you disciplined. Now let's lock this in. The first 90 days decide the year because they decide the default. Defaults run the rest automatically. You no longer need motivation. You no longer need intensity. You no longer need inspiration. You have momentum. Protect it. Simplify your life. Reduce decisions. Maintain structure. Review weekly. Recover fast. Ignore noise. Do this. And the next 9 months will not feel like effort. They will feel like execution. And that is the winning zone, where progress compounds quietly, where confidence deepens naturally, where success becomes predictable. This is not luck. This is design. You designed this year in the first 90 days. Now all that's left is to keep moving and not get in your own way. Momentum is built through small, focused actions repeated daily. When you commit early, clarity improves, discipline strengthens, and progress becomes easier to sustain. You don't need perfection. You need consistency and intention. As you move forward, remember that every day is a choice. Use your time wisely. Protect your focus. And keep building habits that move you closer to the life you want to create. Thank you for listening. If this audiobook helped you, feel free to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Growth Listen. Your support helps more people stay focused, motivated, and growing. Stay consistent, stay committed, and make these next 90 days count.